Later on tonight, guys and girls, there will be an opportunity. Does anybody need help with superannuation? Funds management, trading? Yeah, okay, right. Don't need help. What we've realised in Australia is there's a massive void when it comes to superannuation. People don't actually understand it. There were 26 changes made to super law about 7 or 8 days ago, so Australia now has a 15% death tax. Who knows that? Who doesn't know that? Hands up nice and tall. Awesome. You guys probably need to find out a little bit more about what's going on in the super world. Any accountants here? Yeah, TK used to be an accountant. So guys, long story short, as you know, I'm a CEO, I'm a trader, I trade a lot. My wife is hiding here, so my wife is a keto. I got into IO simply because Danny, where's Danny hiding? Danny waving back corner. Danny actually approached me and said, hey man, I found this massive online supermarket that wants to buy all of the nuts from your macadamia farm. I thought, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But mind you, we hear that a lot. People go, oh, I want to buy all your nuts. It's like, okay, fantastic. Then they just disappear. But then I started to do my DD or my due diligence on IO and just went, you've got to be kidding. These guys are effectively mapped on Amazon. They grab everything from the farmer and sell direct to the consumer, and they don't have 961 shops. Who has 961 shops? Starts with W and ends with Woolworths. So, just so you guys are aware, Woolworths has more than 961 shops with 961 managers who are on more than $150,000 a year each. So if you do the maths on that, adds up pretty quick. What I love about IO is they're actually happy to share the profit that would otherwise be taken by Woolworths and Coles. They're happy to share the profit with normal people. So I showed this to Akito. Akito's like, hey, I really like this. I sat back as a normal husband, going, yeah, honey, what's going on? Until I saw the numbers and I saw the difference between online shopping and food shopping. Does anyone know the difference at the moment? Yeah, online shopping is currently 1/3000th of the food that we eat. So if you imagine getting the food that we eat and cutting it down 3,000 times, the potential for IO to grow over the next 10 to 15 years into multiple countries is ridiculous. How many people eat food? Just out of interest? We can cook, okay, a couple of you, and what does everyone else do if you're not eating food? My point is that Kito and I did our first online shop 2 weeks ago. We pushed the button, click, 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 all went to our shopping trolley and it got delivered, and I thought, wow, I've just saved an hour of my 2 little boys, Hurricane and Cyclone, in a shopping trolley. When you meet them, you'll know. So, saved me driving to the shopping centre, wrestling with a trolley, wrestling in a car park, threatening getting a car slammed by a door, then Luca running around the supermarket like a nutbag, finding anything he is not allowed to eat, chocolate, cookies, sugar, MSG, he finds it all, brings it back to the trolley, shoves it in, then you've got to wrestle with him to put all the chocolate back, then you've got to do this. Has anyone else done this before? Who's got kids? Yeah, you know, okay, cool. So that's gone now, and what I like about IO, it might only have 700 items now, but this time next year, I said in a video recently for YouTube, 3,000, and Phil, my mentor, corrected me and said, mate, try 10,000. Eventually, we won't need Woolworths and Coles. But there's a new force in town called IO, and I think that's really exciting. So I'm a 1-star. I went 1 star. I don't even really know what that means yet, but I went 1 star in my first 3 weeks, which is kind of good fun. Goal is to go to 10 star as quickly as possible. Why is that? Because you get a rock star bonus of $10,000 a week for 52 weeks. Does anybody want a rock star bonus? I could talk all night. Akito will reinforce that. I get in trouble for always talking too long, but tonight is not about me, guys. It's about TK. So TK, I've done a lot of research on you. You are amazing. I'm not going to even try and go through your bio. Guys, can I bring TK on to share with you not only her amazing journey, the pros, the cons, the goods and the bads, the chemicals, the nasties, but what you did about it, I think is really important. Is anyone an action taker in the room? Hands up, action takers. Hands up who's not going to put their hand up regardless of what I say. So everyone put their hands up when I thought. All right, TK, the room is yours. Can we welcome TK, please?
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here, and you know what? I want to share that really tonight's not about me at all. Even though this gorgeous man said it's about me, it's about you guys. It's about you being here and discovering about Inner Origin, and also what I really am passionate about is sharing about the cosmetics industry and how it works and the impact that cosmetics and products that we use and assume are safe have on our body every day. I want to thank you for being here. Out of everything that I do, I absolutely love to have the grace of people's listening, to have you connect with me, and to have the grace of your listening where I can share what it is that I'm so passionate about is my blessing. So I just wanted to start by saying that, because I feel very honoured to be able to share why I'm so passionate about this and sharing this message. And I feel very honoured that you have given me your time tonight to enable me and empower me to hopefully empower you to make healthier choices. Now, for those of you who don't know me, or does anyone know about my history with health? Does anyone know much about that? A few people. I had endometriosis in 1995. So many people, out of interest, how many people here know somebody with endometriosis? Hands up. Okay, how about anyone, do you know anyone with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, infertility, breast, ovarian, testicular cancer, autoimmune disease, thyroid problems? How many people here know somebody with a thyroid problem? Hands up. These conditions have become so commonplace in our society, and my goal is to have you leave understanding a large part of why. Now, in 1995, as I said, I had endometriosis so bad that my husband and I always wanted to have 4 children. Now, I married my husband when I was only 17. I don't even know if that was legal. I met him when I was 16. We've been together all this time. He's my soulmate, and I'm very, very blessed. And we always dreamed of having a big family, and we couldn't have a big family. We could only have 2 children because I had endometriosis so bad. I also ended up with Hashimoto's. Really bad Hashimoto's, and I've turned that around. I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life, and in 2001 I had tumours in my spleen, and I had to have my spleen removed, and that was my aha moment. That was my turning point. That was my point where I actually decided that I needed to choose health, because I thought I was healthy, and clearly I was far from healthy. So for 16 years now, I've been living and breathing health and wellness, and I've been researching the impact in particular of chemicals in our everyday products on our health. When I had tumours in my spleen, I met Bill Statham. Has anyone heard of Bill Statham? He's the author of a book called The Chemical Maze. Kerry's recording this. He has a book called The Chemical Maze. There's also an app. Do you want to turn that off, lovely? Oh, thank you. He also has an app called The Chemical Maze, and my goal is to empower you to take resources or tools away with you and knowledge so that you can implement this information into your everyday life. The Chemical Maze is an incredible app where you can actually, and I show you some of the slides, where I've taken ingredients out of deodorants or sunscreen and toothpaste and hand washes and hand sanitizers and different products, and I've put them through Bill Statham's app, The Chemical Maze, and it details where those chemicals are derived from, what they're found in, and the impact of those on the human body, and what we don't know. Because a lot of us, we know what we know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know. So tonight is really about that. There's another app called Think Dirty, and it's put out by the Breast Cancer Fund in America, where they are campaigning for healthier cosmetics, or campaigning to remove a lot of the chemicals in everyday cosmetics. Think Dirty app is like a dirty meter reading that will rate a product, 0 being the cleanest, 10 being the worst. Now you can actually use that app and scan a product and it will give it a rating. Most of your cosmetic products are a 10, a 9 or a 10 at minimum. Now that means that they are of the highest toxicity level that you can possibly express, or that Think Dirty app actually states. I'm going to go on my presentation now, but know that I can talk for a week on this subject, and more often than not I do, so we need to have the timekeeper keep record of the time, because I do want you to get home tonight, and I promise you that you will. Okay, I talked to you about this is about you. It's about looking at where are you at with your health. Now, actually, before I get into that, I want to share also why I am so passionate about InnerOrigin as well. Everything that is in my life is about health and wellness. So I take a holistic approach to health and wellness. It's not just what I put on my skin, far from it. What I put on my skin is one area, but I predominantly eat certified organic. Why? Because I know the pesticides, insecticides, organophosphates, the synthetic chemicals, the artificial colours, the artificial flavourings in everyday food. I know the impact of those, having researched that for the last 16 years as well. I work with professors, incredible professors. Professor Mark Cohen is a dear friend of mine. He's from the RMIT University in Victoria. He's a medical doctor, a traditional Chinese doctor, and he says Australia's first professor of wellness. And he's an incredible man. Dr. Sarah Lance, she took newborn babies' umbilical cords in 2013, tested them in Queensland University and found on average 200 synthetic man-made chemicals in their little umbilical cords. Now that study's been emulated around the world with on average now over 236 man-made synthetic chemicals in babies' umbilical cords at birth. They're born pre-polluted. So whilst I take a holistic approach, it's everything that I do for my body, my spirituality, what I'm putting in my body, what I'm putting on my body. There's lots of people talking about the need to switch to certified organic food and only put that in their body, but very few are talking about the impact of the cosmetics that we're putting on our skin. And I go into detail as to the impact of those chemicals, what those chemicals are, what classes of chemicals, and the impact of those on your body. Know that this is about you and your vitality. Do you have the health that you'd love to have? Do you have the energy, the skin? Are you the weight that you want to be? So we cover a lot of areas tonight, and chemicals, believe me, impact all of those areas. They impact your hormones in particular as well, and we'll go into details about that. Now, our world used to be organic. Is that a true statement? Do you think it's as organic as it used to be? It's fairly well polluted now, isn't it? We have to get back to this, and that's why I love InnerOrigin so much, is because it's promoting already approved products that have been vetted, that have been already gone through an advisory board to determine whether or not they're healthy. And when we buy something that's healthy, not only are we impacting our own health, we're impacting the health of our planet as well. And what we do to our planet, we ultimately do to ourselves. And that's why we need to turn this back, need to turn our world back into an organic state. The only way that that will ever happen is if we stop buying products, companies will then stop making them. So we need to support companies that support our health by providing us with healthy alternatives. Do you know there is not one litre of the ocean now, this is a Professor Mark Cohen statement, there is not one litre of the ocean that doesn't contain tiny microscopic plastic beads. How scary is that? Did you know that? How crazy is that? That's what we've done to our planet. I want to give you a brief history because I take not just it's not just about what I'm putting on my skin. I'm going to give you a brief history of pesticides, insecticides, also how we preserve things and so on. So a brief history of pesticides, insecticides. And originally we used to use minerals, like natural occurring minerals, to as pesticides, insecticides. Then we went to roots of plants, and World War II caused a revolution in farming. That's when petroleum-based chemicals came into existence. There are over 100,000 chemicals, and this is why it's so important to switch to safe food. Over 100,000 chemicals are now registered for use in Australia, with 75% have never been tested for human consumption or never been tested for safe for the environment. There are now 17 pesticides that are used in Australia that are known carcinogens, known to cause cancer, and 42 that are suspected to cause cancer. Is that acceptable? That they're allowed to use these pesticides on our food that we eat, and we go into the supermarkets and you'll pick up a grape or an apple. Apples have been number one on the Dirty Dozen list. Has anyone heard of the Dirty Dozen put out by the EWG? Apples have been number one so many times. Celery, we pick up this food and we allow our kids to eat it, never understanding the impact of the toxicity of the pesticides, that 17 of these pesticides are known cancer causing and 42 are suspected to be cancer causing. I want to talk about food additives, preservatives, colorings. We used to use salt, vinegar, honey, sugar, fermenting, dehydrating, smoking to preserve our food. Now we use benzoates, nitrates, sulfates, but at what cost? What is the cost? Autoimmune disease is higher than it's ever been in this country and also around the world. Do you know 30% of children now have eczema? 30% of babies. We have to look at what is causing this. I want to give you a brief history of cosmetics and then we'll go into more detail. Since World War II, petroleum-based chemicals have been used in cosmetics. They've found a way to use petrol. Most of your ingredients in your everyday cosmetics, and cosmetics is defined as skin, hair, beauty, personal, baby, oral care, candles, makeup, anything you find in a cosmetics floor on a department store basically comes under the banner of cosmetics. And unfortunately, there are 13,000 chemicals in cosmetics with only 10% ever evaluated for safety. And if they are tested for safety, they're tested in isolation. And if anyone knows anything about chemistry, you will understand that if you test a chemical by itself and you test it with just one other chemical, you will get a totally different result. Do you agree? Yeah. So I want to share with you now, we're going to go into a fair bit of depth in regard to cosmetics because not many people are sharing about this. There are 8 major classes of cosmetics in our everyday, classes of chemicals, in our everyday cosmetics. The first one are neurotoxins. Almost all of your cosmetic products, that is your skin, hair, beauty, personal, baby, oral care, candles, men's products, makeup, they will include or contain chemicals that are neurotoxic, toxic to your brain. Look at the rate of depression that even our young children are suffering. I'm an ambassador, I want to just share also, I'm an ambassador for Kids Helpline, which is the only 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service for children. Do you know, on average, every night they get 13 calls where children are wanting to kill themselves. And on average, every night they have to intervene and stop 3 young people from killing themselves. On average, every 90 seconds they receive a call or a text or a message from a young person in Australia. It is an incredible service, yet we have depression at such a high rate. Is it time we start asking why? Not just for our children, but also for ourselves. Neurotoxins are linked to foggy thinking. Does anyone here experience foggy thinking at all? When you remove chemicals from your life, you get to experience a clean, healthy mind. I had is anyone familiar with neurofeedback? I had neurofeedback, not last time, the time before when I was in the States. And I can honestly tell you that my brain would not have been years ago as healthy as what it is now, because I was a walking, talking perfume shop. I used to lather myself in so much perfume products. I had the previous time that I went to the States, I had neurofeedback. They said that the activity of my brain, the health of my brain is like a 19-year-old. And that's because I'm chemical free. And I promise you, that's one of the reasons that I am feeling the vitality, the health. My hormones are all balanced. I don't have Hashimoto's. I don't have tumors in my body. And it's very exciting when you remove those chemicals, and especially when you get to experience a level of thinking and clarity of the mind that you haven't had before. And I'm not just talking about removing what we're putting on our skin, it's also what we're putting in our body, in our home as well, and I'll go into some examples of that. But most of the cosmetics contain neurotoxic chemicals. We also have obesogens. So obesogens cause our fat cells to multiply. These are in just about all of your cosmetic products. They reprogram our normal cells to become fat cells. They cause us to put on and maintain weight. And they are linked to obesity. So chemical toxicity within the body, there is more and more research that is being released in relation to chemical toxicity. The more toxic your body is, the more it will actually put on weight. Professor Mark Cohen even shares that our body has become so toxic with the chemical burden that we place on it every day by way of our body washes, our hand sanitizers, our makeup, our skin creams, our shampoos, all of the things that we use, that our body has become so toxic, our deodorants, our toothpaste, that our body can't get rid of all of those nasty toxins. It just cannot physically perform that role of removing those toxins. So what our body does, instead of allowing those those toxins to be stored in our vital organs, such as our heart, our liver, our kidneys, our lung, our spleen, or even our fat-laden brain, what it does is it moves those chemicals to the outermost surface of the body where they will store those fat-soluble chemicals. Now, the key to that is fat-soluble. When we don't have enough fat to store these fat-soluble chemicals, our body will purposely put on more fat to store those fat-soluble chemicals in. Did anyone know that? There is a huge link to obesity and chemical toxicity within the body. And it's about removing those chemicals so as does anyone here go to the gym? They go to the gym and they eat right, but they can't lose those few kilos? That's the toxicity level, and especially when you look at, for example, perfume, which I'm going to go into in much more detail, and or the word fragrance on a product. We're only up to 2, which is the second class of chemicals, which is obesogens. This alone should be enough for us to remove any possible chemical from our everyday lives that could be causing that, because when you have a problem with your weight, you have other health issues that coincide with that. Diabetes, all sorts of challenges. Carcinogens. So do you know the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration of America, state that almost 1 in 5, almost 20% of your cosmetic products, your skin, hair, beauty, personal, baby, makeup, all of those products will contain formaldehyde-releasing, cancer-causing chemicals. Almost 20%. That's an FDA, a Food and Drug Administration statement, that almost 20% will contain cancer-causing carcinogens. How crazy is that? Yet they allow these chemicals to be used. Endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now these, how many people have problems, do they think, with their hormones? You might not want to admit it here, but most people, or a lot of people, are having real challenges with their hormones. And when your hormone health is off, when you're not well or your hormones aren't well, just about every other area of your health is impacted. Now, endocrine disrupting chemicals are what we call xenoestrogens. They mimic the female hormone estrogen, sending our entire endocrine system into disarray. Most people don't understand what our endocrine system is or how important it is, so let me take you on a little journey in regard to that. Unfortunately, most of us don't understand until we have to visit an endocrinologist as such. So our endocrine system consists of our ovaries in women, our testes in men, our adrenals, our pancreas, our thyroid, our parathyroid, and 3 parts of our brain, our pituitary, hypothalamus, and pineal glands. Our endocrine system sends signals out to just about every cell within our body. That's how important it is. It regulates our hormones, it controls hormone development, and it regulates our metabolism. So it is vitally, vitally important for our health. These endocrine disrupting chemicals that are xenoestrogens, they're synthetic man-made chemicals that mimic the female hormone estrogen. Whenever you put a product on your body and it contains an endocrine disrupting chemical, or even in your body, so a lot of organophosphate, for example, is endocrine disrupting. It's one of Professor Mark Cohen talks about it being an endocrine disrupting chemical as well. However, when you're using cosmetics and you're putting them on your body, know that those chemicals are going into your bloodstream and they are mimicking your hormones, mimicking the female hormone estrogen, causing all sorts of challenges with Hashimoto's, thyroid problems, hormone-related disorders. And I'll go into some stats in a minute after I go through the list of chemicals, but I'll go through some stats from the World Health Organization which will shock you. So then we have developmental toxins, and these are particularly dangerous for our babies because babies do not have the detoxification ability of an adult. They do not have, their immune system isn't developed, their nervous system isn't developed, and their endocrine system isn't developed. They aren't able to get rid of the chemicals that are being put on their body and or that they're born with at birth. And we turn around and we lather them in products that we think are safe, that are now in our hospitals everywhere. And I'm not here to badmouth any brand, I'm just here to have you be aware of the chemicals in these products, that we put them on our babies and we're putting them in warm water where the absorption is even greater. And those chemicals are going into an already pre-polluted body. sending their entire system into disarray. Immunotoxins are chemicals that are toxic to your immune system. Our immune system is there to protect us. These chemicals actually suppress our body's ability to protect ourselves. And then we have reproductive toxins, which are very similar to endocrine disrupting chemicals. I won't go into the detail, they are very similar, but we don't have a lot of time to go into the detail, but just know that's another class of chemical. And we also have teratogens, which I haven't listed there. Teratogens are ones that are known to cause birth and embryo defects. So how many people here use hand sanitizers? It's okay, I used to. Even though I don't believe in hand sanitizers now whatsoever. However, we created a safe hand sanitizer because people are using them. Hand sanitizers contain alcohol denatured. Alcohol denatured is also in many other products, so antibacterial soaps as such, or denatured alcohol or alcohol denatured. It is a suspected teratogen. It is known to cause birth defects. Do you know if you use a hand sanitizer and you pick up a receipt, just a conventional receipt, the plastic ingredients on that receipt, they're phthalates. There's phthalates in the receipts that we use now. Just by using a hand sanitizer, you'll absorb the phthalates out of the receipt by more than 30% more, and that's a statement by Professor Mark Cohen. Okay, now I want to share with you how the cosmetics industry works, because this absolutely shocked me. When I met Bill Statham, he shared with me many, many things about the cosmetics industry and the chemicals in our everyday products, and I'm like, how can this be? And he stated to me that our industry here in Australia, we basically follow what the Americans do. And unfortunately, our regulation is even more lax than America. Now, how does the cosmetics industry work? The cosmetics industry is set up, well, the cosmetics industry has a cosmetics ingredients review panel set up by the cosmetics industry to determine whether or not the chemicals they themselves use in their own products are safe. Did you hear that? The cosmetics industry has a cosmetics ingredients review panel set up by the cosmetics industry to determine whether or not the chemicals they themselves use in their own products are safe. It's a self-regulating industry. There is no pre-market or health testing done on any cosmetic product before it's released onto the market, and chemicals are used in cosmetics on the basis they're safe until proven otherwise. How dreadful is that? There is only one area in the world, and it's Europe, where they will not allow chemicals, no longer will they allow chemicals to be used in cosmetics until they are proven to be safe. That's how we should be. One would imagine that's how it is. It is not. Chemicals are now used in cosmetics on the basis they're safe until proven to be otherwise. And do you know in America, unfortunately, we follow their standard. Up until last year, there were only 9 chemicals banned over the last 39 years in cosmetics. Last year, they banned triclosan, which is a registered pesticide. They banned it in antibacterial soaps, but they left it in deodorants, in toothpaste, in mouth rinse, in hand sanitizers. I said deodorants? No. And unfortunately, Europe, since they introduced the REACH program over 11 years ago, they have now banned over 1,330 chemicals that we still are allowed to use willy-nilly. Why? Because our system is so unregulated. We need to bring the REACH program from Europe to Australia to change the labelling laws and to change the laws in regard to cosmetics and how they're manufactured. We as a family have introduced to the market around 75 different cosmetic products in Australia, and we have never ever once been approached by any regulatory body as to what on earth is in your products. Do you find that astounding? That goes for aftershave, perfume, all sorts of things. Unfortunately, they have hidden or undisclosed ingredients. So the word fragrance, when you see, how many people here, how many women wear fragrance in the room? It's okay, I used to lather myself. How many? Hands up. Okay, not many, which is great. How about products that contain the word fragrance? Do you take it to that level? So almost all of your products will contain the word fragrance. Fragrance, according to the Think Dirty app put out by the Breast Cancer Fund in America, that one word fragrance can contain up to 3,000 chemicals that never have to be disclosed on the label. So chemicals like phenoxyethanol, triethylamine, cocamidopropylbutane, BHT, alcohol denatured, I could go on and on and on in relation to the different chemicals that are found in perfumes. And I'm going to take you on a little journey in a minute as to some of the products which will show you what chemicals and they are actually found in perfumes.